No bonus for an incompetent high school graduate. After this incident, Kevin will either be demoted or transferred, and he won't be able to stay in this department any longer.
I sighed deeply at my manager, John, who refused to acknowledge any wrongdoing. It's impossible to keep working with this person, I realized. I quit. When I said that, my junior colleagues looked at me with surprised expressions. Honestly, I've reached my limit. If I stay here any longer, I'm afraid I'll end up punching John. Thank you for everything, I said to John, and left the company. The day after I resigned, I received a call from the company on my phone.
What the hell did you do?
John's voice was so loud it was distorted, making it hard to understand what he was saying. However, according to what I managed to hear, it was as follows. When John went to work today, he had an exchange with the employees.
The stock price is plummeting.
What?
The atmosphere in the office was like a funeral, and when they investigated the cause, they found out that my resignation had spread on social media. That's why they called me in a panic. My name is Kevin Scott, a 42-year-old company employee. My company is a toy manufacturer, and I joined this company as an unusual high school graduate. Not all toy manufacturers in the country are big companies that everyone knows. For example, the makers of candy toys are small toy manufacturers. Our company is a subsidiary of a well-known toy manufacturer with about 50 employees. We mainly make toys for babies. The advantage of being a subsidiary of a large company is that our products can be displayed in stores. Although online shopping is mainstream these days, having products on store shelves is still a big advantage. However, the number of toy purchases in stores plummeted due to the pandemic a few years ago. With online shopping becoming mainstream, our company's sales dropped significantly. Even though we are a subsidiary of a big company, we will go bankrupt if we don't have sales. At that time, our company was in such a dangerous situation that bankruptcy was imminent. Our president, Steve even talked to the parent company about being absorbed by them. What saved our company was a completely new product. Our company, which had been making toys for babies, suddenly started making board games for adults, and these sold explosively. During the stay-at-home period, board games probably met the needs of the times. Thanks to this, our company avoided bankruptcy and was able to rebuild its business. Now, most of our company's sales come from board games. In terms of percentage, 90% are board games, and 10% are other products. Until a few years ago, I was in the development department, but since last year, I've been in the public relations department. My main job is to promote our games, conducting populace all over the country.
My brother asked if you could teach him some tips for the game, Kevin.
The one who talked to me was my colleague, James. James joined this company 3 years ago. Before that, he worked as an elite in a trading company, but suddenly quit and joined us. It seems he faced a lot of opposition from those around him. Why don't you teach him, James? You're good at games too.
My good and your good are on different levels, Kevin. The new game we were talking about is finally coming out next month.
Although our company originally made toys for babies, many employees are game enthusiasts. Steve's basic idea is to hire employees who love toys. James is a true game nerd who sometimes plays games nonstop for 24 hours on his days off. Because of that, he isn't married, nor does he have a girlfriend, but he seems quite happy. I'm not as into video games as James, but I do play them. Recently, we've been talking nonstop about a new game we both like that's coming out next month. It's the first new release in 5 years. I'm really looking forward to it.
Can I come over to your place on the release day, Kevin? Let's play all night. I'll bring my brother too.
I'll think about it. I responded with a wry smile to the excited James. My wife, Susan is quite tolerant of games, but she probably wouldn't be happy about having my colleague over for an all-night gaming session.
Hey, stop chatting and get to work.
It was John who yelled at us. John came from the parent company last week. The previous manager retired, and John took over the position. It's not uncommon for employees to be seconded from the parent company. The previous manager also came on secondment and retired here. John will probably stay with us until he retires as well. Sorry, James and I were doing the final check for the pop-up event starting next week. We got caught up in conversation while working, but we weren't slacking off, and we were keeping our voices down.
You're really nothing but a bad influence on those around you. This is why idiots who only graduated high school are such a problem.
John seems to dislike me and always finds fault with me. It's well known in the company that I only graduated high school. But to John, the idea of a high school graduate working in a company is unbelievable. He constantly mocks me for only having a high school graduate.
I'm the one who got us off track. Kevin isn't at fault. And even though Kevin only has a high school graduate, he's not an idiot.
Huh. For some reason, you always defend Kevin. As my junior, you should understand your value. Choose the people you associate with wisely.
John sighed and said in a lecturing tone, "Whenever John belittles me, James always defends me. But it seems that John can't stand it. James graduated from a prestigious private university, and John is an alumnus of the same university. John has an elitist mindset and believes his university is the best. Although James's university is indeed a prestigious private university, it doesn't compare to state universities in terms of excellence. However, John, who takes great pride in his university, dotes on James excessively.
Kevin is much more capable than I am. Why can't you see that, John?
You've been brainwashed. Poor thing."
James seemed to realize that it was useless to argue and sighed, falling silent. John mistook James's silence for acceptance and nodded with satisfaction, saying, "Good that you understand," before returning to his desk.
I really can't stand that guy.
"Well, he's only just arrived," I tried to soothe James, who was glaring at John, and we got back to work. After that, I didn't have any proper conversations with John. I was in charge of the pop-up event, so there was no need to check with John. Furthermore, since John had only recently arrived, he didn't yet understand the employees' work, so everyone came to me for confirmation. I knew John wasn't happy about it, but he had to learn the job bit by bit. Then one day, something happened.
John, I'm so sorry.
Henry, one of my colleagues, was in charge of a project promoting a new product that was set to be released in 2 months, but he had missed the deadline by a week. The client was furious and called, demanding that Henry and the department head come to apologize immediately. It was certainly Henry's mistake, but John should have caught it when he approved the project. Unfortunately, the approval had been done on my day off, so I didn't catch it. If it had been a less urgent project, I would have checked it after my day off, but this project was time sensitive.
Damn it. What were you thinking? This client is a very important major partner, right? What were you thinking making them angry?
I'm sorry. Anyway, they told us to come and explain immediately.
There's a reason the client is so angry. Because we missed the deadline, they're suffering significant damages. This client has been working with us for a long time, trusting us completely with their projects. That's why we got careless with our checks.
Why do I have to apologize? You're the one who made the mistake. Go by yourself.
But they said to bring the manager and apologize together.
Henry was panicking and almost in tears. He had already been yelled at by the client over the phone, and now was being shouted at by John. not knowing what to do. John, we should go and apologize together. The client is asking for a detailed explanation, and we need to discuss the next steps.
Why should I go? I have nothing to do with this project.
Doesn't he realize that's the biggest problem? Since he approved it, he has to take some responsibility. The fact that he doesn't know the project's details shows he approved it carelessly.
You've checked everyone else's work, so why did you miss this one? Isn't that strange? You knew this project was overdue and ignored it, didn't you? How irresponsible can you be? Get your act together.
John was completely losing it, and his accusations were absurd. Of course, I didn't know the project was overdue. Henry, who made the mistake, is an experienced employee, not a newbie. I thought a final check would be enough, so I didn't fully grasp the project's details.
You go. I don't want to. I don't want to be yelled at. Pretend to be the manager and apologize.
What are you talking about? I sighed in disbelief at John, who was throwing a tantrum like a child. It's our fault, so we must apologize. And as the department head, he shares responsibility for Henry's mistake. Just go and apologize. The client is waiting. With that, I forcibly put John and Henry into a taxi. We had to start by apologizing. I began to work on deciding the next steps. John and Henry returned to the company about 2 hours later. Henry looked exhausted, and John's face was red with anger. They must have been severely scolded. I knew I was going to get scolded. As I was thinking that, John smirked and said,
I blamed everything on you.
I was stunned, not understanding what he meant. What do you mean?
I told them it was all your fault. Henry was the one in charge, but I said you were the one handling the procedures. The client was confused, but got angry at you for pinning the blame on Henry.
John laughed heartily, clearly not joking. I looked at Henry in confusion, and he looked back at me, almost in tears. It seemed that what John was saying was true. Why would you lie like that?
Because the client was really angry. If I blamed you, I wouldn't get yelled at. They saw me as the poor guy apologizing on behalf of my colleague. I didn't get yelled at all. The client was easily fooled. What idiots.
I couldn't believe my ears. How could he think of something so awful? It was clear he didn't understand the point of the apology. So what did the client say?
Yeah, they were really pissed off. You'll probably be called in later. For now, I told Steve that your mistake caused significant damage. We had to submit bonus evaluations this month, but no bonus for an incompetent high school graduate.
Honestly, nothing he said surprised me anymore. I was beginning to think the company had a problem for letting John handle bonus reviews.
That's not fair. Kevin had nothing to do with this mistake.
Of course he did. If Kevin had caught Henry's mistake, this wouldn't have happened.
Unable to contain himself, James snapped at John, but the manager didn't listen at all.
James, you're overestimating Kevin. After this, Kevin will be demoted or transferred, and he won't be able to stay in this department. Just prepare for the handover.
I sighed deeply at John, who refused to acknowledge any wrongdoing. It's impossible to keep working with this person, I realized. I quit. When I said that, my colleagues all looked at me with surprised expressions. Only John laughed and said, "Oh, please do."
Kevin, please wait.
James said in a panic. But honestly, I've reached my limit. If I stay here any longer, I'm afraid I'll end up punching John. Thank you for everything, I said to John, and left the company. The day after I resigned, I was lounging at home. My wife, Susan, and my kids were quite surprised that I had suddenly quit, but they weren't angry.
For you to quit your job, It must have been pretty serious. I'm working too, so you don't have to rush to find another job.
Susan said to me, then instructed me to do the cleaning, laundry, and shopping for the day before heading to work. I married Susan when I was 33. It's been less than 10 years since we got married, but it feels as comfortable as if we've been together forever. I spent the morning cleaning, doing laundry, and shopping, then took a break before preparing dinner. But I couldn't stop worrying about the company. I kept thinking about whether the projects I had been overseeing were okay, and whether my colleagues were facing any trouble. Even though I decided to quit, it wasn't because I hated the job. One big reason I hadn't gone to pick up my belongings from the office was that I didn't want to set foot in the company. If I went back even once, I'd probably end up helping my colleagues with their work. That would defeat the purpose of quitting. I sighed for what felt like the 100th time that day. Just as I was about to start preparing dinner, my phone rang with a call from the company. I wondered what had happened and answered the call.
What the hell did you do?
As soon as I picked up, I heard John's yelling, and I grimaced. His was the last voice I wanted to hear. What are you talking about?
Don't play dumb with me.
His voice was so loud it was distorted, making it hard to understand what he was saying. But from what I could make out, this is what happened. When John went to work today, he had an exchange with the employees.
The stock price is plummeting.
What?
The office was like a funeral. And when they investigated the cause, they found out that my resignation had spread on social media. It had even made it to online news and was trending on social media.
Why is there such an uproar just because you quit? And the stock price plummeting? You must have done something behind the scenes, you dirty rat.
I have no idea. I understood what John was saying, but I really didn't know anything. I had only told my family about my resignation, and I hadn't posted anything on social media. No matter what you say, I can only tell you I don't know. If you're looking for the cause, calling me is pointless.
What the hell? Then why did the stock price suddenly plummet? Everyone in the company is saying it's because I made you quit, and that's why the stock price is dropping. If this keeps up, Steve will call me in and scold me.
I understood John's point, but there was nothing I could do about it. I'm currently on leave, so I haven't officially quit yet, but I've already decided I won't work under John anymore. No matter what you say, I won't be coming back to the company. Stock prices may fall, but they'll rise again. You just have to endure it. I know I'm saying something unreasonable, but I can't stand talking to John any longer. I hung up the phone abruptly and sighed. I understood that the company was in a tough situation. However, there was nothing I could do for the company. John kept calling me repeatedly, but I ignored every call. The next day, he kept calling again, but I ignored him until he finally gave up. I was willing to answer if any of my colleagues called, but the calls were only from John. A few days later, I went to the office to retrieve my belongings. I had considered asking them to throw everything away, but among my belongings were birthday messages from my colleagues. That's why I really wanted to go and pick them up. Feeling a bit nervous about seeing my colleagues again, I walked into the office, and the first person to notice me was James.
Kevin,
James' face lit up with genuine happiness, and I couldn't help but smile awkwardly. If what John said on the phone was true, the past few days must have been very difficult. How are you? I'm just here to pick up my things.
oh, I see.
James looked visibly disappointed. He must have thought I was coming back.
Kevin, your desk is just as you left it. Take what you need, and I'll take care of the rest.
James's words conveyed his hope that I would come back. Of course, I cared about my colleagues and liked the work, but working under John was impossible.
Look who's here, Kevin, ignoring all my calls. How dare you show your face here?
As soon as John saw me, he exploded in anger. The other employees looked on with a mix of resignation and pity. I'm just here to pick up my things. I'll be gone soon.
Hold on. The stock price is still plummeting. Go explain to Steve why this is happening.
John grabbed me by the collar, yelling, "The stock price drop had nothing to do with me. Please stop. I'm only here to get my things. Why do I have to explain anything to Steve? I have nothing to do with this company anymore."
Don't you dare take that tone with me.
John, his eyes wild, punched me in the face. He was quite overweight, and his punch packed a lot of power. I had never been hit before, so the shock and pain left me stunned.
Kevin, are you okay?
Serves you right. Now go explain. If you don't, I'll get fired.
What the hell is going on here?
A loud, commanding voice cut through the chaos in the office. We all turned to see Steve standing there, glaring.
Steve, I was just about to come see you. If you could wait a moment.
Do you have any idea what you've done?
Steve, red with anger and out of breath, yelled at John.
I come back from a business trip to find the stock price plummeting. Kevin has resigned, and you just hit him. What the hell is going on?
I didn't hit him that hard.
It's not an exaggeration at all. He punched me hard in the face.
Kevin, are you okay? And what's this about you resigning? If you have any complaints, we'll address them immediately.
There's no way he has any complaints. This high school graduate just decided to quit on his own.
John mumbled, clearly panicking, as Steve turned to speak to me. Steve looked at John with utter annoyance.
I'm asking Kevin. You're the one who didn't show up when I asked you to explain why Kevin resigned.
Well, that's...
John, now flustered, had completely lost his earlier bravado. With a sigh, I told Steve everything John had done to me, how I had been doing all of John's work, how he blamed me for the mistakes, and how he said I wouldn't get a bonus. I have a lot of gratitude for this company, where I've worked for so long, but I can't work under a boss like him. When I finished, Steve glared at John, gritting his teeth.
You've really messed up, haven't you?
John let out a small yelp as Steve, now completely enraged, turned his wrath on him.
But he's a high school graduate. He doesn't belong in our company. We need talented college graduates like James and me.
John pointed at James, who looked away in disgust. Clearly, he didn't want to be associated with John. He probably didn't want to be lumped together with John.
What the hell are you talking about?
What?
Steve looked genuinely baffled.
Are you seriously saying that Kevin, a high school graduate, doesn't belong here? Do you not know that Kevin is the one who made this company what it is today?
Huh?
Steve looked around at the surrounding employees in confusion. He looked around as if to ask, is John seriously saying this?
John really doesn't get it. It's ridiculous that he doesn't know Kevin's name, considering he works here.
What are you talking about? What the hell does this high school grad have to do with anything?
John stomped his feet in frustration, looking like a child.
A few years ago, this company entered the board game market. Kevin is the one who developed our flagship board game.
I was the one who suggested developing a board game. I realized that, given the changing times, our existing products and sales methods wouldn't sustain the company. I owed this company for hiring me as a high school graduate. My thinking was completely different from the seniors who believed that if the company faced financial difficulties, it could just be absorbed by the parent company. I believed in the value of this company and wanted to preserve its name forever.
Everyone else had given up on this company, but Kevin didn't. When Kevin said he wanted to make a board game, we were all surprised, but we wanted to support him.
We were creating a product completely different from the baby toys we had been making. I knew that a toy with no recognition wouldn't sell, so I decided to build the game's recognition myself. With that in mind, I started posting daily videos on a streaming service explaining the board game I had developed. At first, the views didn't increase at all, but gradually the number of subscribers grew. And as a result, the recognition of our board game also increased. A famous influencer posting about our board game helped a lot too.
In the gaming community, Kevin's channel is well known. What seems like just a simple board game explanation is actually really deep and interesting. Plus, Kevin is just unbeatable.
James couldn't help but laugh.
A lot of intellectual influencers challenge Kevin, but no one can beat him, and that's what makes the channel so entertaining. Watching a high school graduate like Kevin crush people from prestigious universities is really satisfying.
It's definitely turned into that kind of channel over time. Originally, it was a channel to promote our board game, but now it has become a platform for challengers trying to defeat me. However, it's fortunate that this has made the channel quite popular.
Thanks to Kevin, our company became known for making board games. With increasing sales, it was clear the games would sell once people knew about them.
That's around the time our stock price skyrocketed. Steve nodded vigorously. Our board game is also available in a foreign version and is very popular overseas. As a result, our stock price is extraordinarily high for a small to medium-sized company.
Nowadays, we even have a world championship for our board games. Of course, the winner gets the chance to challenge Kevin, but he never loses, and it's quite the spectacle.
It's a game I developed, so I can't afford to lose. In a way, it's like my child. I built it from scratch, thinking about how to win, so I never felt I could lose at this game.
There are a lot of people who bought our stock because you're here, Kevin. So it's no surprise the stock price plummeted when you resigned. The source of the information seems to be an employee from the company where John went for negotiations.
What?
John's face twisted into a tearful grimace at James's words.
The client is a huge fan of Kevin, and they were probably upset by the negative things said about you. It seems their employee wrote a lot about it on social media. Once that happened, the rumors spread instantly. It looks like it was one of our employees who spread the fact that you resigned.
Kevin, let me ask you again. Why are you resigning from our company?
Steve knew the answer but asked anyway. I glanced at John. He was trembling. He knew what I was going to say. I don't want to work under John. If someone else becomes the manager, I won't resign.
I see. All right.
Hearing my words, John looked devastated. Steve nodded in satisfaction.
Then, effective immediately, John is fired. He will pay for the damages caused by the stock price crash. Also, it seems he said some horrible things to Kevin. We should make him pay compensation as well. Kevin, can you go to a psychiatrist tomorrow and get a diagnosis?
I couldn't help but laugh at Steve's serious expression. He was being ruthless. Kevin is crucial to me and the company.
There are plenty of people who can replace John, but no one can replace Kevin.
I completely agree. Education means nothing in front of Kevin. No matter how much we studied, we can't beat him at games. It's not good to measure everything by games, but the reverse is also true.
James sighed. It's not good to measure everything by games, but the reverse is also true. Judging everything based on academic background is far too simplistic.
All right, let's immediately spread the news that Kevin is back with the company. Can you start today, Kevin?
Yes, that's fine. I answered and sat at my desk. The contents of the drawers and the items on the desk were exactly as I had left them. There wasn't even any dust, so someone must have been cleaning it for me. While the employees busied themselves with work, John stood there in shock. He had lost everything in an instant, and no one sympathized with him. After that, John was immediately fired. As Steve mentioned, he was ordered to pay substantial damages. Regarding my compensation, I honestly didn't care either way. But Steve insisted, "You should take what you're owed. You were forced to do all his work. I won't be satisfied otherwise." So I decided to get a diagnosis and claim compensation. I was really grateful that everyone was more upset about this than I was. Steve continued to look for more ways to hold John accountable. The amount John owed was enormous, far more than he could ever pay off. Additionally, John's wife immediately filed for divorce. Their relationship had been strained for a long time, essentially living apart in the same house. This incident was the final straw for their divorce. Now, John lives alone in a shabby apartment. He works part-time jobs from morning till night to make ends meet. But he's still behind on his payments and has resorted to loan sharks. John's life had completely fallen apart, and it was unlikely he would ever live a normal life again. Tonight, James is staying over at my place. A new game was released, and James insisted on staying over to play it together. I thought Susan might disapprove, but she said, "You've had a tough time, and you need a break." James is very polite, so it's fine. With Susan's blessing, James happily came over with bags full of drinks and snacks. We could play online, you know.
I'm kind of old school about these things. I like playing together while having a drink.
As James said this, his face, focused on the controller, looked like a boy's.
Still, I'm really glad you came back, Kevin. There were a lot of employees who said they would leave if you did. Honestly, I felt the same way.
James, you joined the company saying you were a huge fan of mine. I remembered when James joined the company. He used to comment on every one of my videos, so I recognized him. It was surprising to see a dedicated fan join our company.
To me, Kevin, you're like a god. Your videos saved me when I was going through a tough time.
Apparently, James had some issues with his social life in college. He often mentioned how my videos had saved him during that period. In fact, there are quite a few viewers like James. It's great to have a job where you can impact people's lives.
It's you who is amazing, Kevin.
As we exchanged these words, I thought about how I wanted to do this job forever. Being able to positively affect others through my actions is something truly wonderful.